Welcome to the Sierra Foothills Unitarian Universalist Church in Auburn. I'm Reverend Sanjay Hawk, serving this congregation of incredibly busy bees. I welcome you here to join us in celebration of being together as a welcoming community. I am wearing a bee stole, clerical stole. I am an indigenous Asian woman also wearing fur in the tradition of my people. I'm an elder as well. Please silence your cell phones. We have a lot to talk about today, but it should be fun and interesting. And also, if you are visiting us for the first or second time, please check in with our welcomers, and please go to our website and schedule a visit with me. I'd love to get to know you better, too. If you are struggling with what is happening out in the world and the upcoming election, you are welcome here. If you are troubled by the change in climate and, oh my gosh, when will this 85-degree weather end? You are very welcome here. And if you're looking for a safe place to be your authentic self, you are most welcome here. All are welcome here at Sierra Foothills Unitarian Universalist Community. And now I would like to introduce our worship partner today, Maureen Bauman, as she helps us light the chalice with Eliza, our tigress. Oh yes, and forgive me. We'd like to introduce you to a member of our board, Amy Hansen, to give us an update.
Well, this is a surprise, seeing as though I had it for next week. But hi, I'm Amy Hansen. I am I think they call me a trustee at large. Is that the right word? I only became a member of SFUU probably less than a year ago. So you can imagine my surprise when they asked me to become a trustee. So ta-da, here I am. But I really appreciate the opportunity because I think it's important to have good governance of an organization, especially one that's trying to be good stewards of other people's finances and time and talent. So I'm really appreciative of being here. And my board notes from this past few meetings that I've attended is sort of my job as a new person, because I don't have a lot of emotional ties to the past per se, is that there were still some questions sort of about what happened last year with Rev Alex. I think people were surprised when the contract, the board voted to end the contract. Now, I was not on that board, and so I'm sort of a disinterested party, and that's why I'm sharing what happened. And now that we are moving into the future with hope, with a new reverend, the board is really committed to more transparency. And so we just wanted to sort of say, for anyone who felt confused by the decision of the board, the timeline was that Rev Alex was a contract minister for a year with an option to extend to 2. The previous board extended them to 2, and at that point, it kind of went unnoticed, but there was no changing of the ministerial orders from Methodist to Unitarian. And so it came up to extend a 3rd year, and it was kind of late in the game, and so the board went ahead and extended a 3rd year, but then there was still no progress on changing the ministerial orders from Methodist to Unitarian. And so at that time, the board, who's in charge of contract ministers, a contract minister abides to a contract just like any contractor, versus a called minister who's sort of the church family chooses that person and votes on them. A contract minister, it's more just like a business association. And there's pros and cons of that. But so at the time of the next decision, it was decided, because that progress hadn't been made on changing orders, that it would probably be prudent to end the contract. But it did come as a surprise to a lot of people. And I think some people, because the board was making their best possible efforts to not ruin the privacy or be disrespectful in any way, and so at that time the decision was made not to sort of put out there sort of the entirety of the situation and everything, but the board had voted to end the contract at the end of the contract period, and then to go with something different. But I think a lot of people filled in whatever gaps in the empty pot of information with, oh, maybe people don't like, their work or their stance or their, whatever it might be. And I think it was really helpful to me. Being on this new board was the first time I'd ever heard there was actually, it was an administrative issue, basically. And so I thought that was a really actually healing thing to share with the congregation as my board opener, because I think we've all been in jobs where, we might have people and they might be great people, and then just the administrative side of employee type stuff is, what maybe makes it not a perfect match. And so that really helped me understand, and I hope in turn it helps everyone in our congregation understand, and that we can really move forward as the family we are, with the values we have, and holding Rev Alex in his new position in Philly, which is pretty great. I've seen some awesome Facebook photos and things like that of them enjoying that new job, as the wonderful part of this congregation that they were. And moving on with Rev Sanjay, who I already have, come to dearly love. So I really appreciate you guys giving this new board the opportunity to kind of earn back your trust, and we hope that this is one way to do it. And thank you so much, and surprise.
Good morning. I'm Maureen Bauman, and just introduce myself and say what I look like. I'm older but energetic, white woman with brown and graying hair. And today I'm wearing my favorite color, blue, that has a little bit of black in it. A quick reminder that our online auction starts immediately following our service, and our in-person event is this next Saturday, the 19th. So buy tickets, auction items, and mark your calendar for a fun evening, and you have, starting today after service, all week to start to bid on the online things, and then the in-person things will be the other set of items that we'll be able to choose from. In this congregation, we ask you to bring all of who you are, all of your questions, your yearnings for peace and justice, your fears about our interdependence with our planet and all its beings, your worries and your joys. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we invite you into this community of searchers and seekers. If you are here for the first time or you have been coming for years, we welcome you. If you are looking for kindred spirits for these challenging times, we welcome you. If you want to share your story with us or hear ours, you belong here. And now, please silence your devices so you may be fully present with one another in this time and place. I invite you to acknowledge that we are gathering on the ancestral land of the Nisenan and Southern Maidu people. And in that regard, we are honored to share this sacred space. So Eliza is going to help us with the chalice lighting this morning, and the words, I think, will come up on the screen, and I invite you all to read them with me. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, theology, from our, the pluralism part of our new Article 2 in the UUA bylaws. And now, if you are willing and able, we will sing our first song in the teal hymnal, 1058, Be Ours a Religion.
I feel like I should be calling in an emergency. It's my little. Okay. This Time for All Ages is an original story, and I might need some help from our folks over here. I have 3 things I'd like you to carry away for me. Do you think you could do that? Yeah, okay, so I will let you know when that time comes, okay? Yeah, thumbs up, that's great. It was a time of the annual gathering of the forest clans. This year, the Great Spirit would grant 3 clans gifts for their families. Can I sit down here? Yep, okay. Sounds like Close Encounters. Do-do-do-do-do. Okay. Well, this year, the Great Spirit would grant 3 clans gifts for their families. And the clans that were being honored were Magpie, Fox, and Wolf. Now, the clans were so excited when they were invited to come up front. Magpie couldn't wait for the Great Spirit to pick a gift for them. Instead, swooped down right away and grabbed that gold chalice. Can you get up there and grab the gold chalice right here? Just grab and take it away. Take it away. Go ahead. Yeah, take it back there. Well, Fox was inspired to do the exact same thing and came up and grabbed the crystal chalice. Somebody want to go get that? Go get it. Yeah. Thank you. No, take it. Okay. But last but not least, Wolf waited patiently. In this case, Tiger, but Wolf waited patiently, and all Great Spirit had was a stick. Yeah. But Wolf was gracious and bowed and said thank you and left to return to their family. Well, but on the way back to Wolf's family, Wolf heard a cry for help. He heard it from the Moose Chieftain. Help, I'm stuck in a bog, somebody help me. But when Wolf saw the chieftain standing there all the way up in his shoulders in the mud, the Wolf Chieftain got afraid. Oh no, anybody but you, Wolf. And Wolf said, well, wait a minute. I have this stick from the Great Spirit, and that means I have to honor our agreement with your clan that our clan only eats you're too sick or you're too old, right? Well, I guess so. So Wolf extended the stick out and instructed Moose to bite the end, and then Wolf backed up and pulled the moose out of the mud hole. And Moose was so grateful. He said, thank you, Wolf, but skedaddled. Wolf was like, okay. And he went along, and then Beaver was in a tizzy, very busy, flapping his tail. Oh my God, I'm behind on my building contract. What am I gonna do? The fish clan's complaining, the otters are complaining. Oh, and it's leaking everywhere, and I just need one stick to plug the hole. And Wolf came along with the stick in their mouth, and Beaver said, that's it, thank you. Takes the stick from Wolf's mouth, fits it into the dam, and it fits perfectly, stops the leak, and Beaver goes, oh, thank you, you saved my contract. Thank you so much. And Wolf said, well, that wasn't mine, that was the Great Spirit's. And Beaver went, oh, well, thank you. And Wolf said, you're welcome, bye. Well, Wolf was kind of sad. I didn't have a gift for my family, Wolf thinks. But when Wolf came back to their family, they were so overjoyed to see them because many months had passed that they had a party, and through the party, Wolf forgot their sadness. And everyone seemed well. Well, the Great Spirit put out an announcement in the beacon and said, you need to check in with me. I need to know how those gifts are helping your families. So they all gathered, all the forest clans. And suddenly, Great Spirit sat and waited. But the Magpie clan, a very, very elderly magpie came up and said, my clan hated your gift. Oh, says Great Spirit. All we did was fight over it. It was so shiny and gold and beautiful. We just fought over it all the time. We fought over it so much we forgot to gather for the winter. We forgot to build nests. We forgot to do everything we were supposed to do to survive. And now there's only me left. That was the worst gift I was ever given. Great Spirit then looked over at Fox, who came in limping. It was a terrible gift. I was in such a hurry to get it back to my family. I dropped it, and it shattered into thousands of sharp little pieces, and then I walked through it and hurt myself. And I couldn't do any hunting, and I was a burden to my clan, and then we couldn't have enough food, and oh my God, it's the worst gift you ever gave us. So Great Spirit's like, oh boy, oh. And looked over at Wolf, and Wolf had their head down, shuffled forward, and was about to apologize when Moose strode in forward and said, I'm the Moose Chieftain. Don't be mad at this guy, because that wolf honored our agreements, the sacred ones you handed to us, and helped me out of a mud hole. And then Wolf was like, wow, thank you. And before Wolf could speak again, Beaver, excuse me, step aside. I made my contract because of this person. I was able to stop the leak, and now the water hole is complete. So I used Wolf's gift. It's been very well used. Everybody loves the water hole, just made to your specifications, Great Spirit. And so don't punish Wolf. The Great Spirit smiled slightly and said, well, Wolf, gifts are only as good when it is shared. You, Wolf, shared the gift, and I am so sorry for your sufferings, Magpie and Fox. But if you hadn't been in a hurry or fought among yourselves, perhaps your experience would have been different. Thank you, all clans, for honoring me today. And then suddenly, a bear approached.
Oh, Great Spirit, I'm from the Bear Clan, and I came here to tell you that I am having trouble with the human clan.
Oh.
What do I do?
What do we do? Thank you, Bear. It's time for us to sing our beloved cubs out.
The sign-up sheet first?
Oh,
Yes, I was going to go ahead and let the kids. We'll go ahead and sing the kids to class, but I also wanted to do a pitch for the RE program. The Children and Youth RE program has 2 age groupings, and in order to serve both of those age groupings, we need to have volunteers for both age groupings. I'm there to teach one group with an assistant, but I need teachers and assistants for the other groups. And so I'm going to ask for volunteers. I have a sign-up sheet here, and I'm going to pass it around. And what is in yellow highlighted is where we need volunteers. We did a training last week after the worship service, and it was recorded. And so if you think you're not going to be able to help, you're not sure you know what you're going to need to do, just check in with me or with Linda or even with Vicky after the service, or Rev Sanjay. She was here during the training, and we can get you set up. But we really, really need your help, even if it's just for one Sunday.
Each Sunday we pause for a time of sharing. This is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. This is a sharing community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Not every joy or sorrow can be shared openly in community. Some must be shared eye to eye, or others held in the heart. We do not expect all to have voices with which to speak the depth of their pain or the height of their celebration.
Well, we have quite a few joys today. Joan Lactus came back from a lifetime trip. For a long time, she says, I have wanted to see polar bears in the wild. Last week, I was in Churchill, Manitoba, where I experienced the awesome beauty of these magnificent creatures. And another joy, Eliza lost 2 teeth in the same night. Wow. And we just gained a new member to be, member Amelia. Yeah. Let me see, she has a very specific thing that I am to read, so I will read that. Amelia Zuver is excited to announce that she had her baby this week. Everyone is happy and healthy and adjusting to newborn life at home. Yay. She did not say, which is fine. We need to encourage our less fixated view on gender identity. Let's put it that way. There's another page. I didn't see it. Look above. We had so much fun Saturday night at game night. That one? Okay, Janine. It's really important to share. And I also want to remember that in our joys, our sorrows also are easily carried among each other. Some of them are too tender to speak to, and many are about the world. These 3 candles here represent gun violence victims, victims of climate change, of which Florida right now has been, and North Carolina have been especially hard hit. And of course, those who experience violence of war, especially Palestine, Gaza, and Ukraine. Let us hold all of these moments in our minds and in our hearts. And I invite you now to close your eyes and take a sacred moment of breath. As you settle into your chair, let go of all that you are carrying today, all the worries and concerns, all the anxieties, and all the things you might want to do after church. Take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. Take another deep breath in and sigh. And another deep breath and sigh. Rest in the space. Let us hold all that we feel worldwide and now as we come back into this sacred space of gathering. And now I invite you to join us in the pastoral hymn, number 123 in your gray hymnal, Spirit of Life. You may remain seated if you wish.
Live amid the play of infinite thought. This is a piece by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Thomas Starr King from an 1863 sermon entitled Lessons from the Sierra Nevada. I believe that if on every Sunday morning before going to church, we could be lifted to a mountain peak and see a horizon line of 600 miles unfolding the copious splendor of the light on such a varied expanse. Or if we could look upon a square mile of flowers representing all the species with which the creative spirit embroidered a zone. Or if we could be made to realize the distance of the earth from the sun, the light of which travels every morning 12 million of miles a minute to feed and bless us, and which the force of gravitation pervades without intermission to hold our globe calmly in its orbit and on its poise. If we could perceive through our outward senses one or two features of the constant order and glory of nature, our materialistic dullness would be broken. Surprise and joy would be awakened. We should feel that we live amid the play of infinite thought, and the devout spirit would be stimulated so potently that our hearts would naturally mount in praise and prayer.
No. Can I stand here? Yeah. Okay. I thought I'd check in with my sound team. Good morning, everyone. How many of you read your e-beacon this week? Show of hands. There was a little bit of homework before class today. Oh, I'm sorry, Amelie. It's okay. The reason why was because, can I stand here? I wanted to share a recent video of a sermon done in UU San Francisco by a very famous Unitarian Universalist minister, Reverend Dr. John Burens. And it was about the history of the oldest church in California, which is the First Unitarian Church in San Francisco. Now, it was established in 1850. The sermon talks about many rich merchants involved in California. They came over, and they were either Yankees, that's the old term, or Bostonian Unitarians. But there were others who made significant contributions to our faith and left a legacy in today's modern communities in the form of this church. And they just didn't make it into those history books. Unfortunately, much of Unitarian history can be male-centric, and the argument is usually for California that there simply weren't women around, but cemeteries, letters to family, and some published writings say differently. Also, you have to look at the way and means that were used that we know of, how they got here, and to give our ancestors some credit here. There were Unitarians in this state before it became one, around 1848 actually, and they did not hang out in SF or the city. That's when I say the city, being a Maronite, that's San Francisco, just a little translation there, okay? They weren't all men or all East Coasters. What? Non-American Unitarians? Also, it seems men died early, and the widows or business partners, and sometimes they were both in the same, carried on the work. And it was that work that set the course today for today's UU churches. We all know that Starr King worked himself to death and died at 39, and he left a widow, and the young son also died. And some male pastors remained for a little bit. Unfortunately, the Reverend C.G. Ames, he has a great bio, but it says nothing about how he spent at least 3 years setting up our Santa Cruz church. And that ministry just seemed to disappear, even though he is mentioned repeatedly as the pastor in the local Santa Cruz Sentinel News. So before I go further, let me give you a brief listing of the founding dates of churches in the areas of the Central Coast, the South Bay, the Sacramento Valley, and some of the churches in the mountains. The first and oldest Unitarian church in San Francisco, founded in 1850. The second one is Santa Cruz at 1866. The third one was Sacramento, 1868. Followed by Santa Barbara, 1872, Berkeley and Oakland, 1891. And then we have San Jose at 1892. And then there's a pause, a big one. Wars, pandemics, economic downturns. Gosh, sounds a lot like today, huh? They didn't see much church planting until 1947 with Palo Alto, then Marin, 1950, Santa Rosa and Fresno, 1953, Livermore, 1957, Chico, 1960, Sunnyvale, 1962, Modesto, 1964. I think on atomic energy and bombs might have done something here. A lot of anxiety there. And of course, Napa, Mission Peak, and Fremont, it's uncertain where Monterey Peninsula fits in there, but they may have started in the 1980s. I just couldn't find their start dates, and their ministers were silent on me. Now, I am sure a lot of you understand, too, that there's the mountains. Tuolumne, us, Grass Valley, our baby. Come next, followed by the youngest church, Petaluma, 2002. So there may be a few that I've left off, like Humboldt, and I left off Southern California because they deserve their own rich history. But if I went off on all of those histories, we wouldn't leave this room for a day. So you do notice that Santa Barbara has a very early start date as compared to, say, San Jose or Oakland. And if you look at how the geography is, Santa Cruz was not, and Santa Barbara, those were harbors coming up the coast, okay? Santa Cruz folk were instrumental in making sure the Confederate leanings did not happen in California. They maintained a stance of unionism. They supplied the miners up here in Auburn and with food and iron and building materials, most importantly lime. Everyone's probably done the lime kiln trail in Santa Cruz Mountains. And so the newspapers there also kept up a huge anti-slavery dialogue. And, you know, think about how we travel today. Back then, you had to get on a boat in Boston, travel down the coast all the way to Panama, take a donkey tour across the isthmus, get on the other side at Valparaiso, and go back up. Well, after tropical diseases and cholera from poor water storage on boats, you are not going to want to stay on that boat any longer than possible. So you're going, let me out, I'm getting off at Santa Cruz. And we know this because cemetery records show that many women came this way and they died while on these journeys. And their bodies were dropped off to their fiancés or brothers in Santa Cruz, and they were buried in that cemetery. 2 burials in Santa Cruz in particular were done in 1852, were women. Yes, it was a significant harbor in 1849. And 3 Unitarians, 2 from Lowell, Massachusetts Church, and 1 from England, made landfall there. The English guy, Kirby, went up to here He made his fortune and lost it. But he decided that he would be an entrepreneur and create a support system for the miners up here, and developed a couple of businesses. And he convinced the other two Unitarian guys, come on, can you help me out? One of them was a physician. He said, I'm sorry, I'm busy. The other guy was just, well, there's not much crime here, and I'm the local judge, so yeah, I'm in. Well, Kittredge didn't come because he was an entrepreneurial guy. He came because his fiancée said, we need to be out there. His fiancée, Alma, and her sister, Harriet, were inspired by a woman named Eliza Farnham, a Unitarian journalist who came to California in 1849 to settle her husband's estate. And with that money, no love lost there, she started a farm in Santa Cruz called El Rancho La Libertad. And with that, she brought more women with her. Another person of interest is somebody named Georgiana Bruce, who was also from England. She had emigrated to the US when she was 20. And of course, she worked on this beautiful farm, and they did something very scandalous. They wore pants. Oh my gosh, they wore pants while they were outside working. And they had fruit trees, they had food, which they then shared with their neighbors. And in doing so, it brought kind of the attention of the other local Brit, Kirby, and he married Georgiana Bruce, and they had a big family. But Georgiana was very, very liberal. She went, and before she even decided to come to California, she lived in a commune run by an ex-Unitarian minister. Yes, communes are not new. They were happening in the 1840s. Okay, and that's where she met Eliza Farnham, and the two were very interested in women's rights in 1840s and 50s. And so Georgiana Bruce Kirby, with the funding from her very supportive husband, actually brought Susan B. Anthony to Santa Cruz. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? Who are these people? And they decided that there was so much happening in Santa Cruz, they need to establish a church. Now, I'm going to ask you to pull the slide forward. Well, there's Santa Cruz. For those of you who've been there, the boardwalk is to the right, where the little horses are now. But you can see that this is a bird's eye painting made in 1870. Now, if you want to advance the frame one more time. And that's the kind of town it was. So it looks rough and tumble, but there was a lot of drinking going on. There is a wonderful story about somebody getting drunk and shooting bullets, and it hit one of the women walking on the sidewalk there, but the metal stays in her corset saved her. So yes, corsets have a value. So that's one of their stories, but if you flip up again, and here is, you started to see churches there. And go ahead and forward. Now, here is an announcement in the paper that says that the Santa Cruz Church was started, and a Mr. Stebbins from San Francisco and brought Mr. Ames to be their pastor. And the list of people are all local people. The same list of those people signed the charter to the city. Do you think that that might have any impact on any kind of liberal progressive politics here? Just a little bit, right? So it's really important for us to remember that it wasn't the men who signed. They did sign it because they had a business power, but it was the women who gave the talks. Come on, ladies. We all know. Who staffs that hospitality back there, right? Okay. Who gets on the phone and says, can you come and play music? Yep. Okay. These ladies were really at the top of their form, and they brought the folk in. And that church thrived. You can go to the next slide. There it is on the plans as the city's being built. Unitarian Church, right next door to the stables, probably. Yeah. That's your modern version of a parking lot, right? Okay, you can give us the next one. And there it is on the painting in 1870, the Unitarian Church. Yeah, you see the little white arrow? The white arrow is pointing to it. And we have a picture, too, if you want to advance that frame. There it is. Isn't that pretty? For 10 years, that church, Unity Church, happened. I think we've got to remember, too, that sail power was the place and the transportation mode. It only took 6 hours to get to San Francisco from Santa Cruz by a boat. They departed with the tide 3 or 4 times a day. When you get off at SF, you get on a boat to Sac. More stuff went that way, 6 hours. They had a betting line on who could be the fastest steamboat captain to get supplies to Sacramento. And from Sacramento, the train that was up here, the oxen train in Auburn, trotted down, picked up stuff, and slogged it back up so that they could build a hotel, that they could build a new homes, because all the wood in here was used for mining. And redwood, as we know, still holds up even today. And I'll tell you a story. I had a plumbing problem when I was living in Santa Cruz. They discovered redwood piping. Pipes made of redwood. They date back to the 1880s. They were still working. So, wow. But that tells you that there was a lot going on. And it wasn't just a few guys. It wasn't just those 3 guys. It was their wives. And as we developed more history, we visited the plots of Harriet and Alma, and we saw something very interesting. Harriet's husband, Blackburn, the judge, died in 1865, but she didn't die till 1902, and she was not laid back. Not only did she organize for women to maintain their properties as property holders, which give them the right to vote, she also set up a safe zone for her Chinese workers during the incredible time of, and I think, is that slide here? Okay, so there it is, Chinese. If you look carefully, it says, if they get blown up in the powder mills or ground up in the paper mill, it will not be much loss to the community. So, and this is the kind of feeling that was going on slightly before the Exclusion Act. And if you want to go back a slide, can you go back a slide? Okay. So you'll see that this is Sacramento in 1869. And California Powder Works was the place. California Powder Works had 3 definite gunpowder hubs. Santa Cruz, Hercules, which is down in the Bay Area, and Sacramento. So there was a lot of comings and goings. And when we were delving into the life of Alma and Harriet, we found that in their plots they had taken in family of a young woman fleeing domestic violence and a young man with a past that no one seemed to want to talk about, but we appear from all of the readings that we have found about him that he was not cisgendered. So it is a legacy that we now have because of these folk. In 1907, see that group of people, the demographics have not changed very much in Unitarian Church. That was the reopening of a new church in Santa Cruz. The congregation just simply moved, and they went from calling themselves Unity to All Souls, and today they are the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Santa Cruz County. So they are still alive. They have this picture in their sanctuary. But I want you to know that here in Auburn, we are doing what these folk are doing right now. We gave birth to baby Grass Valley. And we continue to thrive despite economic hardship, pandemic, all the things our ancestors faced. We know how this works. We are shifting the vote to remain progressive. And so let's not forget the hard work of our ancestors. Let's not let it go to waste. Let us gather here as our song says, in the mystery of the hour, and continue to live into the values of our faith: justice, equity, inclusion, and through that understanding, we find our interconnection. We transform our community, and through our generosity, continue to keep the lights on. So let's do this, folk. Look at the legacy you have. You have a beautiful heritage here. You own California, period. Let's do this.
Every week in our church, we take up an offering. We pass the plate during our worship service to engage in a community expression of thanks for the blessings of abundance, a visible harvest during this most cherished hour of our week. Our offering plate embodies our cherished value of generosity by engaging us in the act of giving. We also split our monthly collection with a local community organization aligned with our 6 values. This month, our partner is the Growing Peace Camp, which was founded in 1987 by our beloved member, Millie Livingston. Today, this week-long summer camp is run by the Auburn Hip Hop Congress and serves students of all ages. Campers learn about peace, diversity, and other cultures. Please choose where your offerings go. We assume that we share 50-50, but you can donate 100% to our Share the Plate recipient or choose to offer 100% to our operational budget. The choice is always yours. And at any time, you can contribute to our collection by going to our website mysfu.org/give. The morning offering will now be given and received in the spirit of appreciation and gratitude.
Let us do our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment. 1028, I think.
Join hands or touch elbows or however you'd like to be connected. Just grab her hand. There you go. Okay. Hold on to your ancestors. Bring them forward with you, and also work to become the ancestors for the next generations to come. You are the future of this faith. Go now and live into it as powerfully and as amazingly as I know you can. Go in peace, have some cake, have some coffee. Go. Go forth. Flame